All right, Troy, it's time for another edition of Hobby Deep Dive, where we go in depth on a current NHL player in the hopes to educate ourselves and everyone else about a player prospect that's creating buzz in the hobby. We're back with another playoffs edition. We've selected 4 players that have excelled so far this postseason. Put up another Instagram poll for followers of the show to vote on who they want this week's deep dive to be. Before we get into this week's candidates, so here's a quick look at the vets now that we've done in our Hobby Deep Dive series already. Last one was Jeremy Swayman. We've also done Pasta, Zach Hyman, Quinn Hughes, Draisaitl, Makar, McKinnon, and Elias Pettersson. So I picked 4 candidates this week. Igor Shesterkin, Wyatt Johnston, Matthew Tkachuk, and Artemi Panarin. So 2 Rangers, a Dallas Star, and then Florida Panthers, Matthew Tkachuk. Not even close, Troy.
Landslide.
Not even close.
Landslide.
Yeah, well, we might be having a little Wyatt Johnston hobby moment here, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So that makes this week's Hobby Deep Dive the young up-and-coming Dallas Star, Wyatt Johnston. Wyatt Henry Johnston is 21 years old, comes in at 6'1", 185 pounds, hails from Toronto, Canada. And by 21 years old, Troy, we mean like barely. His birthday was 2 days ago.
Wow.
Just turned 20. So happy birthday, Wyatt Johnston. He is a product of the GTHL, or the Greater Toronto Hockey League. So
how many parents of a GTHL player think their kid is going to make the NHL? Do you think 99% of those kids' parents think that?
Let's break that down, because there's like 2,800 teams and 50,000 players. So I'm guessing that about 49,940 would be easily going to be first round picks in the NHL. That's a huge youth hockey league.
Big league.
Man, we think like the Cake Eaters here in Minnesota, Edina, are a big hockey association. It's like a massive, a pretty big town in of itself, or city, 50,000 people. So he played his youth hockey, Troy, with one of the more premier teams of the GTHL, the bougie Toronto Marlboros, and finished his minor career with 48 goals, 48 assists for 94 points in 73 games in 2018-19. That was good enough to make him the 6th overall selection in the 2019 OHL priority selection draft, where he was selected, Troy, by your Windsor Spitfires. Windsor, great town, bad internet, as we learned last episode.
Oh, man.
A little bitter on Windsor right now. Sorry if you're from there. PTSD.
Yeah.
He began his Spitfires career in 2019-20, where he had 12 goals, 18 assists for 30 points in 53 games played before the season was stopped in early 2020 due to the COVID pandemic. Now, this is where it gets kind of interesting, because, again, due to COVID, there was no OHL season the next year for 2020-21. But yet, though, Troy, that was his draft year. So he was eligible for the 21 NHL entry draft. It's probably not ideal. And I'm guessing if you're like a higher end hockey prospect and you're coming into your draft year and then you find out the junior season was canceled, that's bad luck.
Yeah.
Luckily, though, for him, he was able to get some international play in that year, and he did pretty well at the 2021 U18 World Championships, which helped to increase his draft stock. So I went and did some scouting, searching, and tried to get the basic scouting report on Johnston coming into the 2021 draft, and here's kind of a synopsis. So scouts looked at him as a highly skilled center with a strong hockey IQ and good offensive instincts. Johnston was noted for his versatility, strong playmaking abilities, and competitive nature. His vision on the ice and ability to read the game allowed him to be effective in both scoring and creating opportunities for his teammates. He was considered a player with a good all-around game, including solid defensive responsibilities, which made him a well-rounded prospect. Although some scouts had concerns about his skating speed, his intelligence and hockey sense were expected to compensate for any physical limitations. Well, the Dallas Stars ended up taking Johnston 23rd overall in the 2021 NHL entry draft. And you're like, well, this seems like a
family portrait or what?
Yeah, family portrait. Well, again, due to COVID.
That's right.
That whole draft, they put TV crews in people's living rooms and draft parties. And sure enough, you could go right to the Johnston family living room to see when the pick was made. And they must have taken this picture outside shortly
Yeah.
after the draft. Well, next season, then Johnston would return to the Spitfires and their bad internet and the OHL for the 2021-22 season, and that's kind of where he broke through. He led the entire CHL that year, Troy, with 124 points, scoring 46 goals, adding 78 assists and 68 games played. So you're feeling pretty good if you're like a Dallas fan then, because you're like, well, gosh, we had to draft all that year, and there was no junior season, so we're kind of don't have a lot to go on these guys, and the guy we pick then turns around and leads the CHL in scoring the next year. Pretty good. He also led the OHL for points in the playoffs that season with 41 points in 25 games played. Johnston was then invited to the Stars training camp in 2022-23 and impressed the team enough through the preseason that he made the Stars opening night roster. Would end up making his NHL debut on October 13th, 2022, scored a goal in his first game against UC Saros with the Nashville Predators. Johnston was very young, starting his rookie season at just 19 years old, and one of the only very few Stars to ever make their debut with the team in their teens. I think like Miro Heiskanen did it in like 2017 or 2018, and then you had to go back to like Jamie Langenbrunner, who was from Cloquet, Minnesota, back in the early 90s. So it was a pretty big deal for him to start with the team as such a young guy, bypass the AHL entirely. There's a lot of articles about his rookie season that were written because he lived with veteran Joe Pavelski, who we talked about on last show. And I think that was pretty instrumental from a mentorship role and kind of making him feel comfortable away from home. And I think that's one really cool thing about hockey is that you get these older guys that it's very Mario Lemieux very famously took Sidney Crosby under his wing when he was very young, etc. Well, Johnston would finish his rookie season with 21 goals, 17 assists for 41 points. His 24 goals, tied Matty Beniers for most goals by a Calder-eligible rookie that season, but Johnston would finish 5th in Calder voting. He was, though, Troy, named to the NHL All-Rookie team as a forward with Beniers and Matthias Michelli. So he's kind of a little bit under the radar, even last year. Scored a lot of goals, but 5th in Calder voting, I thought was pretty interesting. This season, though, Johnston took another step forward and asserted himself as a solid offensive contributor, of course, for a very talented Stars team. In 82 games played, so he upped his production from rookie year of 24 goals to 32 goals. And then this year added another 30 assists for 62 points. And again, he just turned 21, so he's 20 basically all season. And then he's found another gear so far in the playoffs, producing 7 goals, 4 assists for 11 points in 11 games played. And been one of the Stars, I think, better offensive contributors so far this postseason. In the Stars' 5-1 Game 4 win over the Avalanche the other night, Johnston scored 2 goals and added an assist. So he also tied a Wayne Gretzky playoffs record, Troy, by scoring a power play and shorthanded goal in the same game before age 21, which I kind of is cool. But it's like, this is like one of those, I call it like a stretch record where like a PR department will find the most convoluted, he's the first player to score a goal after crossing over left 4 times, then right 7 times, then spinning 3 times and waving to his mom in the stands, right? Kind of thing. But that being said, though, anytime you share any sort of record with 99, that's a good thing in my mind. Well, after their last game, Dallas coach Pete DeBoer gushed about Johnston. Here's what he had to say. He was all over the rink, just fantastic, a fantastic young hockey player that is going to be a cornerstone. And I have no doubt he will wear a letter probably sooner than later for this franchise. Just an incredible kid. Jeez.
I'm going to start calling him the captain anyways. Captain.
Cappy.
Oh, my Cappy.
So it kind of leads you now to the hobby where we've talked pretty much endlessly at this point, Troy, about how disappointing the 2022-23 hobby class has been. do we now maybe have somewhat of an unexpected star brewing here? And pardon the pun, I guess, with Wyatt Johnston.
Maybe, but I hope not, because then the box prices will go up again.
Yeah.
22, 23 stuff's like falling off a cliff. So
You have to wonder too if there's something about his personality or his style, or maybe he's just still so young and hasn't
yeah.
achieved, because I kind of feel like the hobby needs somebody to save this class. And so it's either going to take like the Maddie Beniers comeback story,
hmm
or our guy Slavkovsky to take another leap in year 3. But maybe it could be Wyatt Johnston.
Could
Could
be.
he be the diamond in the rough? And the little opening I'm seeing is, it's been really, really quiet this year on the whole like J Rob hobby buzz front.
Yep.
So we talk about all the time how you can only really have like one star
Yep.
per team. And maybe the shine is fading a little bit on J Rob. And I don't know, could Johnston end up being the guy? I kind of get him and Stankoven mixed up, because I tend to think that, I know like Logan Stankoven is like teeny tiny, itty bitty, like what, 5'7" or something like that. And Johnston's he's not real heavy, but he's what, 6'1", something like that. So
186, 185.
it's not that tiny. But I don't know. What do you think? Could he be a hobby star? Or
Well, I think so.
really
I mean,
to tell?
it's not going to take a lot from this rookie class to separate yourself, hopefully. And if he keeps performing like he is in the playoffs, and Dallas keeps moving on, what's their series at right now? I don't even know. I can't remember.
Is it 2-2?
I think so. That sounds about right. We'll go with that. And if we're wrong, oh well. But yeah, he's definitely making a case for himself to be a hobby breakout star.
Well, his hobby market is heating up quite a bit. It's hard to tell when you're like in the middle of it, but we're either close to or starting what I would call a Wyatt Johnston hobby moment, like a breakout. So we'll take a little bit of a look here, Troy. So Johnston is a 2022-23 Young Guns, PSA 10, pop 461, 34% gem rate, so pretty low gem rate. PSA 10 lasts over $256 on May 13th. Anytime you get north of 250, it means that there's some steam on that player in the hobby.
Yep.
So on May 1st, Troy, this card was selling for $155. Wow. That is a 65-ish% increase in about 2 weeks. Had you bought this card at the beginning of the season, it would have costed you about 125 US. So it's more than doubled since the beginning of the season. Should we just pause for everyone to go dig in their boxes and find their Wyatt Johnston Young Guns and list them on whatever platform you sell on?
Yeah, exactly.
Time to list those Johnston cards. It is heating up hobby wise. Like we do in these hobby deep dives, we'll also take a look at the higher end of the Johnston market, where nothing too crazy so far, but we'll look at the top 5 selling cards to date, along with each's respective top sale. So again, if it's all like high, we're not gonna do like 4 high gloss cards. We'll just give the top sale. All eBay sales have been verified as paid for in Terapeak. That's how we roll here, Troy. All right, let's look at the number 5 is a 2022-23 SP Authentic Future Watch Auto out of $9.99 inscribed raw that has that October 13th debut date where he scored a goal against UC Saros, as we talked about. This sold for $749 on November 4th, 2023 by eBay. At number 4, coming in at $1 more, a 2022-23 Upper Deck Young Guns Acetate PSA 10. They didn't have a photo, so I had to find a raw one here. So for $750 on April 18th, 2023, more than a year ago, by eBay. Number 3 sale, Troy, 2022-23 Upper Deck Young Guns Speckled Rainbow Foil PSA 10. Sold for $800 on May 7th via eBay. So $50 more when that's the PSA 10, but
yeah.
100 times over 100, I'm choosing a Young Guns Acetate over Speckled Rainbow Foil, aren't you?
Yeah, agree 100%. I just noticed this picture makes it look like a 16-bit in the background. I've never really seen a picture like this of the speckled rainbows.
Well, it's probably whatever exposure they used on the camera.
Oh yeah, for sure. for sure.
Number 2 sale, well, I guess 3 and 2 are sort of tied for 2. They're both $800. So it's a 2022-23 SB Authentic Flop. Future Watch Auto Patch Flop out of 100 raw, sold for $800 US on November 13th. I like this photo. It's like he's looking at his patch going, whoa.
Or do you think he's saying, man, can we got a better patch? Maybe a couple more colors in there, please. Gold and some green would be nice.
And green, yeah, missing green. Yeah, it's like 3 colors, but it's missing the 2 best ones.
I guess they don't have gold on that jersey.
No, yeah. They ditched that when they left us.
Thieves.
It's like once an episode now. We have to get bitter over that. Then the number 1 sale, Troy, is the 2022-23 Upper Deck Young Guns High Gloss out of 10. Yeah. So for $1,400 US via eBay on April 19th.
This will be in your data set for when you do your research project on regular Young Guns versus base Young Guns versus Outburst Silvers after we give it a year to breathe.
So there you go, Troy. The Wyatt Johnston Hobby Deep Dive is in the books. We learn anything?
We learned that I need to go through my spreadsheet and make sure I don't have any of these hanging around. I don't think I do, but
you know what else you got to look at is who's like all the third string goalies that are popping off, like the Silvos guy from the Canucks.
Pickard, man. I didn't even know that guy was for Edmonton.
Is it Picard or Pickard or
I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
I'm so gun shy on names that I just give up. Like Calvin, I'll call him Calvin because I think that's his first name. Like he used to be on Nashville and he'd always be on Pekka cards. Like if they had dual ones when he was with Pekka, he was always the other guy on the couple of the duo cards.
It's Calvin, Troy.
Just Calvin.
My strategy with names is I just say as many versions as I can possibly think of and hope one is right. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. Well, there you go, Wyatt Johnston. I'll be deep dive.